Hello, dear students of class 12 science. We'll continue with the chapter biotechnology, principles and processes. So we're dealing with the topic tools of recombinant DNA technology. We have learned already about the enzymes and we are dealing with the cloning vectors. Right, so we have learned about the plasmid, we have learned about the bacteriophage, phasmid and cosmids. So now we learn about the characteristics of the cloning vector. Okay, so what are the chief characteristics that the vector must possess? Okay, so a cloning vector needs to have the following features. And what are those features? First one, they should have ORI site, origin of replication sites, ORI. Number two, selectable marker. Number three, cloning sites. And number four, size must be small. Okay, so these are the four most important features of a cloning vector, and these four features we are going to discuss today. Okay, so first one, we learn about ORI site, origin of replication site. So what do these sites means? So in the last class I have told you to go through this figure, vector PBR322. Okay, so this ORI site means origin of replication sites. So mainly this ORI site is mainly a sequence from where the replication starts. Replication means where the multiple copies of the foreign gene or the foreign DNA will produce multiple copies. So during replication, the segment of foreign DNA will be able to produce multiple copies. So ORI sites means the sequence from where the replication starts, and any piece of DNA when linked to the sequence can be made to replicate within the host cells. Simple. So we will take the foreign DNA, gene of interest from the foreign DNA, and we will insert that foreign DNA having the gene of interest into the vector DNA. So this ORI site, the origin of replication site, is mainly the sequence from where the replication starts, and when we used to link that foreign DNA into this site, okay, it can be replicate, it will be able to make multiple copies within the host cells. Clear? So one fragment of DNA will divide into 2, and 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and hence it will keep on multiplying. Clear? So this sequence is also responsible for controlling the copy number of the linked DNA. So it's not that it will produce multiple number of foreign DNA molecules, okay, but it will also control the copy number of the linked DNA. Clear? So therefore we can say that a vector is required to have at least one origin of replication to multiply within the host cells. Otherwise, without the ORI site, the foreign DNA linked to the vector DNA will not be able to replicate or will not be able to multiply. So therefore, again I am saying that any foreign DNA inserted into the vector also gets replicated along with the vector DNA. Okay, whatever, any segment of DNA having the gene of interest, when it is inserted or linked to the vector DNA, will also replicate along with the vector DNA. So that's why you're saying that this ORI site is not only responsible for producing the multiple copies of DNA, but is also responsible for the copy number of recombinant DNA. Okay, so therefore, when many copies of the target DNA are required, it is cloned in a vector whose origin support high number. That means we have to select those vector which has got the property to produce high copy number of the inserted DNA. So depending on the number of copies we require, we have to select such vector that can support the production of higher number or multiple copies of foreign DNA. So ORI site means origin of replication site, which is the sequence of nitrogenous bases where the replication of DNA starts. And when any piece of DNA is linked to this site, it will be made to replicate because it acts this site for the initiation of replication by binding the enzyme called helicase. Okay, so remember this thing. Not only that, this ORI site will help in the multiplication of the linked foreign DNA, but it will also support the copy number or the production of that foreign DNA. So according to that, we have to select such DNA who will support the high copy number. So this is the first feature of the cloning vector, that is having ORI site, origin of replication sites. Okay, so single fragment of DNA can produce multiple copies, okay, when it is inserted linked to the ORI site in a vector. Next one, selectable marker. This is very, very important. Okay, the vector should contain a selectable marker or a few marker to help in. Now, why does the vector needs a selectable marker? Number one, detection of transformed host cells. That we will learn afterwards. What does the transformed host cell means? Okay, you can see the bracket that recombinant DNA, but afterwards we'll learn in details what does the transformed host cell means and what is the name of the process. Okay, number two, identification and elimination of non-transformed host cells. That means the selectable markers will be able to detect the transformed host cells having the recombinant DNA, and it will be able to identify and eliminate, remove those host cells which does not have recombinant DNA. Okay, and number three is isolation and growth of transformed cells. So these are the most important features that the selectable markers have to act. First one, to detect the transformed cells, to eliminate the non-transformed cells, and isolation and growth of the transformed cells. Now, which part of the vector act as the selectable markers? Clear? Usually the genes that provide resistance to antibiotics, the gene that provides the antibiotics to the vector, to the bacteria, it act as the selectable markers. Okay, so in case of vectors, those sites which provide resistance to antibiotics like ampicillin, tetracycline, kanamycin, or chloramphenicol, it act as the selectable markers for E. coli. Clear? The normal E. coli cells do not have antibiotic resistance gene. Listen very carefully. The normal E. coli cell do not have any antibiotic resistant gene and are unable to grow in antibiotic rich medium, whereas transformed cells with antibiotic resistant gene can survive and multiply. So what does this mean? Listen very, very carefully. We are saying that antibiotic resistant sites can act as the selectable markers. So E. coli cells, bacteria, okay, it does not have any antibiotic resistant genes. So if we will put the bacteria into a culture plate, let's say we are taking the two culture plates. So this is the first culture plate and this is the second culture plate. Okay, and let's say this is the culture plate containing the antibiotic ampicillin. Okay, suppose in this culture plate we have got the antibiotic ampicillin. Clear? And in second culture we have got the antibiotic tetracycline. Are you getting it? So we are taking two culture plate. In the first culture plate we have got the antibiotic ampicillin, and in second culture plate we have got the antibiotic tetracycline. The normal E. coli cell do not have such antibiotic resistant gene. So when we put the E. coli cells into this culture plate containing ampicillin and the culture plate containing tetracycline, it will not survive. Why? Because E. coli cell does not have antibiotic resistant gene. Clear? But by the process of recombinant DNA technology, now try to recall that technique. Okay, if we insert the foreign DNA having the antibiotic resistant gene, listen very carefully, if you will insert the foreign DNA having the antibiotic resistant gene into the E. coli cells, for example, let's say we are putting the ampicillin resistant gene to the E. coli cell now. Are you getting it now? What we are putting? We are putting the ampicillin resistance gene in E. coli cells. Now what will happen to E. coli cell? Now E. coli cells will be resistant to ampicillin. It has become transformed. It contains the recombinant DNA. So it has become the transformed host cells having recombinant DNA. And that DNA contains which property? Antibiotic resistant property, having the resistance to ampicillin. So when we put the transformed E. coli cells into the medium containing ampicillin, now that E. coli cell will not die. Why? Because it has got the ampicillin resistance gene. But if we put the same transformed E. coli cell into the tetracycline containing medium, it will die. Why? Because it does not contain the tetracycline resistance gene. It only contains ampicillin resistance gene. Okay, so by this way the transformed cells will be able to survive and will be able to multiply when we will just modify the host cells by the technique of recombinant DNA technology. Okay, so now we will see in details. So we are talking about transformed cells having recombinant DNA. So that particular process is known as transformation. Okay, so what is transformation? So the process through which a piece of DNA is introduced in a host bacterium is called transformation. Okay, so when we will put a piece of DNA, the foreign DNA, into the bacterial cell, then that is called transformation, and that bacterium will be known as transformed bacterium because it will contain the recombinant DNA. Okay, so in recombinant DNA technology, the transformation of bacterial cell is carried out by introducing phage DNA or plasmid DNA carrying a segment of foreign DNA. For example, you can just see over here. So this is the foreign DNA. This is the vector DNA, right? So what we do? So we will make a cut in the vector DNA. We will make a cut in the foreign DNA. So this will be the segment of DNA, and this will be the vector DNA with a cut over here. Now what we are doing? We will simply put the segment of DNA into this cut portion of vector DNA. Okay, so this one is the foreign DNA having gene of interest. So this is called recombinant DNA, right? And when we put this DNA into the bacteria or E. coli cell, then these E. coli cells having this recombinant DNA will be known as transformed cell. It has undergone transformation. It contains the recombinant DNA having the gene of interest. Clear? Okay, so now how to identify which one is transformed DNA or transformed bacterial cell and which one is non-transformed, recombinant and non-recombinant? The question comes over here. Okay, so recombinant and non-recombinant. So how to identify which one is recombinant and which one is non-recombinant? Recombinant means having recombinant DNA has undergone transformation, and non-recombinant means which has not undergone transformation, which does not contain recombinant DNA. So how to identify the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant DNA? So mainly we can identify those particular DNA by two techniques. One is called insertional inactivation, okay, and another one is called the blue-white selection test. So these two tests will be utilized to identify the recombinant DNA, host DNA, and the non-recombinant host cells. Okay, so first one we'll look over here. The phenomenon of inactivation of a functional gene due to the insertion of foreign DNA within the coding sequence is called insertional inactivation. Suppose we'll put a piece of DNA, alright, we'll put a foreign DNA into the functional gene, and if that gene becomes inactivated, then that is called insertional inactivation, and this will help in the selection of recombinant. We can usually distinguish between the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant DNA. So let's just talk about the process. First one is selection through antibiotic resistant gene, is in the page number 587. Okay, so listen very carefully. Clear? So how can we differentiate between the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant DNA by this technique, selection through antibiotic resistance gene. So we are taking examples over here. Plasmid vector PBR322, and if you remember that in the plasmid vector PBR322 we have got two sites for antibiotic resistant genes. AMPR means ampicillin and TET means tetracycline. Okay, so AMP means amplicillin resistant genes and TETR means tetracycline resistant genes. So please keep this in your mind. Okay, so plasmid PBR322 has a restriction sequence GGATCC within the gene for resistance to antibiotic tetracycline. So that means PBR322 has the resistance to antibiotic tetracycline. Clear? So we are getting the gene which is resistant to the antibiotic tetracycline. Similarly, we have also got the restriction sequence CTG-CAG, which gene for ampicillin resistance. So vector PBR322 has the resistant to antibiotic for both ampicillin and tetracycline. Clear? So a normal vector PBR322 has the property of ampicillin resistance and tetracycline resistance. Clear? So now insertion of foreign DNA into the restriction site. Listen very carefully. Insertion of foreign DNA into the restriction site within the tetracycline resistant genes renders tetracycline gene inactive, but the gene for ampicillin resistance will remain functional. So listen very carefully now what we are doing. So a plasmid vector has got both the resistance to antibiotic tetracycline and ampicillin. But now what we are doing? Now we are going for insertional inactivation. Okay, we are going to make one of the antibiotic resistant site inactive. So between the two antibiotic resistant site ampicillin and tetracycline, we are inserting the foreign DNA into the tetracycline resistant site. So when we are putting the foreign DNA into the tetracycline resistant sites, now that vector will lose the property of tetracycline resistance. Okay, it cannot survive in a medium that contains tetracycline when we'll put the foreign DNA into its sites. Clear? But that vector will have the property of ampicillin resistance. That gene for ampicillin resistance will remain functional, but the gene for tetracycline resistance will become non-functional because we have inserted the foreign DNA into that region. Okay, so now what we can do now? How can we differentiate between the recombinant and the non-recombinant one? Okay, so the transformed bacterial cells with plasmids having the active gene for ampicillin resistance and inactive gene for tetracycline will survive in ampicillin medium but not in medium with tetracycline. So how to identify now which one is transformed and which one is non-transformed? Before that, remember that we have inserted the foreign DNA into the region having tetracycline resistance gene, so that the gene for tetracycline resistance will become non-functional, whereas the gene for ampicillin resistance will be functional. So now that vector PBR322 can resist the antibiotic ampicillin, but it cannot resist the action of antibiotic tetracycline. So what we do, in order to identify the transformed bacterial cell and the non-transformed bacterial cells, we will take two culture plate. Okay, in first culture plate what we put, we'll put the antibiotic ampicillin, sorry for the mistake over here, and in second culture plate we'll put the ampicillin tetracycline. Okay, now we don't know which one is transformed bacterial cell, which one is non-transformed bacterial cell. Alright, but we know that the transformed bacterial cell will not be able to survive in a medium containing tetracycline, but it will be able to survive in a medium containing ampicillin. So Let's take example. We have taken the bacterial cells. We don't know which one is transformed, which one is non-transformed, and we are putting that bacterial cells into a medium containing ampicillin, and we will find out that, it's very careful now, what we'll find out that when we put the bacterial cell into a medium containing ampicillin, they will not be able to survive. Why? Why will they not be able to, like they will be able to survive in a medium containing ampicillin? Why? Because those bacteria still have got the resistance to antibiotic ampicillin. The gene that provides the resistance to antibiotic is still functional. So the bacteria will survive in a culture plate containing ampicillin. But when we put the bacteria into a medium containing tetracycline, what can be the consequences? When we put the bacterial cell into a medium containing tetracycline, then only those bacteria will not be able to survive which has undergone transformation. Listen very carefully. Those bacterial cell which has undergone transformation will not be able to survive in a medium containing tetracycline. Now the question is why? Why are they not able to survive in a medium containing tetracycline? Because the transformed bacterial cell does not have the property of resistance to the antibiotic tetracycline, because we have gone for the insertional, because what we have done, because we have put the foreign DNA into the region which will provide the resistance to tetracycline in case of vector PBr322. So those bacterial cell which has undergone transformation will not be able to survive in a medium containing tetracycline. But those bacterial cell which has not undergone transformation, which does not have recombinant DNA, will survive in a medium containing tetracycline. So therefore, bacteria with such antibiotic resistant gene can be isolated by adding ampicillin or tetracycline or both on the culture medium. So simply by this technique we can differentiate which one is transformed bacterial cell and which one is non-transformed bacterial cell. Hope it is clear for you. So what we have done, we have taken the two culture plate, one containing ampicillin and the other containing tetracycline. So what we have done during transformation bacterial cells, we have inserted the foreign DNA into the region of the vector PBr322 which provides resistance to tetracycline, whereas the gene for ampicillin resistance will be functional. So when we put the bacterial cell into a medium containing ampicillin, all the bacterial cells can survive, right? But when we put the bacterial cells into a medium containing tetracycline, then only those bacterial cells will survive which has not undergone transformation, because non-transformed bacterial cell contains both the ampicillin and tetracycline resistance gene. But those cells which has undergone transformation, which has got the recombinant DNA, cannot survive in a medium containing tetracycline because they have lost the power of tetracycline resistance. Okay, so by this way we can differentiate between the recombinant and the non-recombinant bacterial cell. Clear? And the second technique is through blue-white selection method. Because if you go through the antibiotic resistance technique for differentiating between the recombinant and the non-recombinant bacterial cell, then we have to again and again we have to place them in a culture plate having ampicillin and tetracycline antibiotic, which is mainly a conversion method procedures. Okay, so simply the technique blue-white selection method can be used to differentiate between the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant DNA. Okay, so alternative selectable markers developed to differentiate recombinant and non-recombinant on the basis of their ability to produce color in the presence of a chromogenic substrate. Chromogenic substrate means which will impart color, which will produce color. So this method is based upon the insertional inactivation. Okay, so this blue-white selection method is based on the technique of insertional inactivation of LAC-JET gene present on the vector. So the vector has got the LAC-Z gene, and here we are going to inactivate this LAC-Z gene. So generally the LAC-Z gene will encode the enzyme beta galactosidase. Remember, it's just become small b only, but it is beta. Okay, so the LAC-Z gene will encode the enzyme beta galactosidase. Keep in your mind, LAC-Z gene will encode the enzyme beta galactosidase, and this beta galactosidase will cleave the colorless substrate called X-gal. Okay, so beta galactosidase will cleave the colorless substrate called X-gal, and when this enzyme beta galactosidase will cleave the substrate X-gal, it will give a blue colored product. Clear? So LAC-Z gene will encode the enzyme beta galactosidase, and this beta galactosidase will cleave the colorless synthetic substrate X-gal, and it will produce a blue colored colony. Clear? Only when that LAC-Z gene is functional. But when we go for insertional inactivation of LAC-Z gene, that means when the LAC-Z gene is inactivated. Okay, when the LAC-Z gene is inactivated by insertion of foreign DNA, then in that case there will be no formation of blue color. Why? So let's go through this. So generally LAC-Z gene in its active form will code for the enzyme beta galactosidase, and this enzyme beta galactosidase will cleave the colorless substrate X-gal to produce the blue colored colony when this LAC-Z gene is in active form. But when we go for insertional inactivation, and when this LAC-Z gene, okay, when this LAC-Z gene becomes inactive, in that case this enzyme beta galactosidase will not be produced, because gene is absent, is inactive, and when the gene is inactive, the enzyme cannot be produced. And when there is no enzyme, in that case this colorless substrate X-gal will also not produce the blue color. It will become colorless, or it will form white color colony. So from here, can we differentiate the recombinant bacterial cell and the non-recombinant bacterial cells? Yes or no? Obviously yes, we can differentiate those recombinant bacterial cell. Simply we can identify, because they will not be able to impart the blue colored colony, because if the LAC-Z gene is inactive, then it will not be able to produce the enzyme beta galactosidase, and that enzyme will not be able to cleave the substrate X-gal and will not be able to produce the blue colored colony. It will simply produce the white color colony, or it will become colorless. So by this way we can differentiate between the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant bacterial cells. Okay, so thus in the presence of X-gal, host cells which carry the recombinant plasmid molecule will form white colored colonies, and those cells which carry non-recombinant DNA molecule will form which color colony? Blue colored colony. So depending on the color imparted, we can simply differentiate between the recombinant one and the non-recombinant one. Okay, so non-recombinant DNA will produce the blue colored colony, but those who are recombinant one, they will produce the colorless or the white colored colony. So by this way we can differentiate between the recombinant DNA and the non-recombinant DNA. Clear? Okay. So now we go to the next features of cloning vector, that is cloning sites. So the vector must have a very few, preferably single recognition sites for the commonly used restriction enzymes in order to link the foreign DNA. That means vectors must possess the recognition sites which will be used by the restriction enzymes to link the foreign DNA. And the presence of more than one recognition sites in a vector will make the process little bit difficulty. Why? Because there will be production of multiple or several fragments which will make the process of gene cloning complicated. Okay, and the ligation of foreign DNA is carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. Look over here. Ligation, that means joining of foreign DNA, is carried out in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. That means either in AMPR or in TETR. AMPR means ampicillin resistant and TETR means tetracycline resistance. Okay, so in this particular region there will be ligation of foreign DNA. For example, a foreign DNA can be joined at the BAMH1 site of tetracycline resistant gene in the vector PBR322. Let's see. So you can see over here TETR, tetracycline resistant genes, and you can see the BAMH1. So in this site we can usually link the foreign DNA, okay, in the vector PBR322. So ligation of foreign DNA or the joining of foreign DNA can be done at the BAMH1 site of tetracycline resistant gene. Clear? Now next features of cloning vector is have a small size. So vectors should be small in size because large molecules tend to break down during isolation and purifications, okay, and they present difficulty during manipulation required for gene cloning. So therefore vector must be smaller in size, and ideally a vector should be less than 10 kilobase in size. Clear? So here we have finished the characteristics of the cloning vector, and the most important features of vector are it must have ORI site, origin of replication sites, then we are talking about selectable markers, and here we are talking about the recombinant and the non-recombinant DNA and their differentiation by the technique called antibiotic genes and by the technique called blue-white selection methods. Then the third feature is for cloning sites, and the fourth feature is small size. And lastly, kindly go to the page number 586 and do remember the artificial chromosomes as the vector. And here you have to remember two types of artificial vector, YAC and BAC. YAC means yeast artificial chromosome and BAC means bacterial artificial chromosome. So kindly go through it. Okay, it's in the page number 586. Clear? So this much for today. We will continue the same chapter in the next class. Thank you.